I have a really awesome icebreaker for big groups that I'm going to share with you. 10 seconds of philosophy. If you're in a big group, you can do a giant organized activity, but realistically, the best icebreaker for a really big group is going to be something that you kind of install, like software, that runs in the background all the while the group is gathering. So if you have a 3-day summit, you want something to allow the ice to continue to break, not just to do a 10-minute activity and then continue on with content for 3 days, right? You want good conversations, meaningful conversations starting over time. And this can do that. So many years ago, I was invited to speak at a big conference, and they wanted to essentially do this, install some software, some sort of a rule. And so we created a really simple methodology that we called the art of connection. And I'll show you in a minute. I'll turn on my laptop and show you this. But the basic mechanics are you set up a couple rules for people and a visual display of that. And so you, number one, invite people to ask a question. Number two, you actually make a connection with people over that question. And then number three, if you can read that, you invite them to color a segment of the wall. The idea here is that the amount colored in serves as an artistic visualization of the level of connection, belonging, and trust we've created in the space. Imagine a big group over the course of 3 days. You know there's lots of connections being made, but you can't see any of that other than people talking, right? But if you create a gigantic wall with any sort of design with a bunch of segments on it, let me zoom in here. If you create a wall with a whole bunch of segments where people are invited to go and color in a segment of that wall based on a connection that they made with somebody, and it's just in a prominent space in the lobby or outside the keynote hall, what happens is over time, this thing just gets colored in and emerges, becomes beautiful art that you can auction off, share, sell, etc. And you can, I'm just sharing the base idea here, but there's all sorts of creative ways to adapt it. So you could have them color in a segment of a wall, but then write in little pen the person's name who they connected with, or the aha that they had from that connection, perhaps. Choose any image, like print an adult coloring book in giant scale. You can do this, like, you can spend 50 to 70 grand setting up a gigantic, like, literally basically building, or you can just print on a gator, 4x8 piece of gator board something, or you could print it on an 8.5x11 piece of paper in a small version, or any scale. You can scale it up and down to the size of your group and the length of your gathering. The point is just having some visual representation of all the connections that are being made. Just by doing that, explaining that in the beginning of a big event or big gathering, you're setting the intention for everybody that we are here to have conversations that matter. We are here to jump into conversations that you'll never otherwise had unless you flew to this space. And then at the end, you get to hold up and have a closing, and you could even close out and say, hey, instead of applause as you leave this group like we typically do, thanks sponsors, applause, go catch flight. Imagine if instead you brought up this wall and said, look what we created, give yourselves a round of applause. And on your way out, would you just find somebody that you connected with over the last 3 days and just say thank you and share some appreciation for what you gained from your connection with them? That's it. That's the best possible applause you could ever end an event with, because it is showing evidence that the ice is broken, and people might come to your event for the content once, but they'll come back again and again for the connection that happens in between. Take this idea and run with it yourself, or if you want some help, reach out, find my info below, check out some of the tools we have to make this really easy for you. And if you're looking for something else to watch, I recorded a video focused on this idea of connection before content, breaking the idea of icebreaker, replacing it with something much more intentional. And you can check out that video somewhere around here. Have an awesome day.